Welcome to episode 4 of the Helpful Huddle Podcast. I'm your host, Luke, and today I got the opportunity to sit down and interview a very good friend of mine, JD Sturniolo. He's going to talk to you guys about his journey, his story through the military, through fitness, his full time job, and what he's doing now, and how he helps people. I hope you guys enjoy the episode. Welcome back to the Helpful Huddle Podcast. I am your host, Luke, and I am sitting here with a good friend of mine, JD. JD, say hi to the people.
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
Now, JD, you and I have known each other for about
Too
5
long.
years now. I think about 5 years. How me and JD met was actually kind of random in Houston. We were both working at a fitness facility called Inner Element Fitness. He was already working there when I got hired on as their nutritionist. But I mean, I remember you even from the interview that I was like, if I get this job, that's my guy. What do you remember about that?
Oh God. Let's see. It was my first job ever actually doing group fitness, and so I definitely came in guns hot, ready to go, jumping around, literally around the studio like a little bunny rabbit,
Absolutely.
rocking the tunes. Definitely learned a lot in terms of different demographics to work with, and the idea of group fitness.
Hmm.
But honestly, it was a nice little turning point in my life. A lot of life lessons, and I got to meet you. So good stuff. It was all fun.
For sure. And I mean, we were talking off camera about the life lessons we've been through together and talked about. And we were talking about how this was going to be one of our more serious conversations, which it still will be, but it won't be the most serious that we've had.
Right.
So at
Absolutely.
least there's that. But JD, I'm ready to jump right into this. How do you feel?
Yeah. Let's do it.
All right, man. So like I always like to do, I want to start out broad. I want to hear your story from childhood through your journey to where you are now. I want to know kind of what led you to where you are today.
Okay. So to be perfectly honest, I'm probably one of the very, very few examples of the people who I didn't really know where the closest gym was when I was even probably 18 years old. I did not get into fitness until very, very later in life. Probably mainly had to do with obviously you get into your college era and you're kind of figuring out what exactly is working out, and you just kind of start hanging out with your friends. You start just kind of tagging along with people, and that was kind of my introduction. But I think I really kind of saw myself grow as a person when I did 2 years in college, and I did actually a weightlifting elective, which is basically where the person just kind of looks at a clipboard the entire time and basically waits until the minutes are done in class, and I just kind of lift whatever I can. So yeah, that was interesting. And then really the biggest jump was when I actually got in the military. I joined the United States Army service, and I was stationed in Fort Campbell, Kentucky, and I was with the 101st, and I broke my hip. I ended up having a couple screws actually placed in my hip, and I was really that kind of teenage angst at that point, to where if you told me I couldn't do something, that's like the only thing I wanted to do.
Of course.
Which in my case, that was fitness. They literally told me I could not do a push up, I couldn't do anything. I was in a wheelchair, I was on crutches. It was a really, really dark point in my life, but it also gave me a lot of it gave me a path, because it's where I found my passion, because I basically let my peers kind of take me over as a person and as a soldier. And I literally told them, I said, if I'm going to be medically discharged from the United States Army, I want to make sure that I come out stronger than when I came in, at least upper body. Because I still couldn't touch my legs. I couldn't do anything lower body. So I was literally like, it's basically like you hear these people like when they say they go to jail and then they come out, they're like, rock solid, up top, not a game. And then down below, nothing. So I was like the definition of like super solid up top and like chicken legs down at the bottom. Couldn't do calves, couldn't do anything.
Hmm.
But that direction actually really helped me out a lot, because then I had a path. I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to help people. So I tried going the physical therapy route, but didn't quite have the grades because I messed up a little bit in my first 2 years of college. So I chose basically kinesiology, exercise science and fitness management at the University of Central Oklahoma. And I just put my head down. I went to work. And I was told I wasn't the smartest person, but I was the most passionate.
For sure.
And they said that was going to really lead me a long way in terms of personal training and the career path that I'd chosen. And since then, honestly, it's just been kind of a whirlwind. I've done group fitness. I've done the commercial gyms. I mean, just to name a few, I've been to LA Fitness. I've been to Fitness 19. I did my internship right as soon as I was about to graduate. Got a job with them at Results Fitness Nutrition Center based out of Edmond, Oklahoma, where we train pageant girls. And we train demographics all the way from 13 years of age all the way to literally 92 years of age.
Wow.
And so it gave me a very broad spectrum. Plus, with the emphasis on post-rehabilitation therapy for people who were just coming out of surgery, and so that gave me an even better understanding of the body itself and how to work around limitations. And so I think that definitely separated me a lot from the pack of trainers I was working with. Plus, I was really good at communicating, and from that point on, I mean, like you said, we did Inner Element together. That was a whole new experience. To me, it was just like putting the mic on, like you jump on stage and that's it. And what separated me is I had those little tiny things that I would help individuals with in terms of turning their limitations into their strengths.
Right.
And so what we would call usually is, we're going to do a challenge today. And I would do that to almost every single person. And then of course you got the people who bring you aside and they say, hey, do you offer personal training? Like, can I go one-on-one? How do I get this? And so they saw that my style was more, a little more further education based than just the standard group training. And from then on, then you took me under your wing. Like, then we started training together. I started learning more and more about nutrition, and I just became obsessed with it. Every day I was back to 5 days a week lifting and just eating nonstop.
Yeah.
Like Cheerios post-workout.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, it was just everything. And then we went to Lifetime, and that really pushed me in terms of my education because I had like the basic certifications and all that kind of stuff, but it just kind of pushed me a little bit further to get out of my comfort zone.
Right.
And once again, the more education you have, the more it separates you from other trainers. And so since then, still lifting almost every day, trying to as much as I can, obviously with the family that I have. But then it led into 3 screws eventually because I just got tired of really people taking 60% of the money that had nothing to do with them. Like, I was doing all the programming, I was putting all the blood and sweat and tears and the communications and the therapy sessions, as sometimes personal trainers like to call it, into work. But I just decided that I was like, you know what? This style isn't for me anymore. I just need to do my own thing. And that's really what led me to create 3 screws.
I love it. And we're going to dive deeper into 3 screws here shortly. And just for anyone that's listening and doesn't know, we talk about Inner Element Fitness being group fitness training. Just as a comparison, it's similar to Orange Theory. That's probably the most mainstream, but it was different in the sense of like more weight. It was more of a weight training. I mean, cables and free weights being dumbbells than it was like the heavy cardio base where Orange Theory was more. I mean, it had 2/3 of its stations being cardio, being the rower and the treadmill.
Right.
But moving back, and I actually want to bring this conversation back a little bit, actually, like to the beginning. I want to know because I know more. You don't have to go super personal because that's stuff that we've talked about. We're best friends, but I want to know kind of how your upbringing, even from a family aspect, and even deeper into the military, helped you to get you where you are today, and eventually find your passion of like at the underlying of it being you want to help people.
To be perfectly honest, my family didn't really have a whole lot to do with it, just because I was based around Italian / Irish structure. Um, Dinner set 6 o'clock, be there. It was very structured. But really, it was the military, I think, that really gave me that direction and that passion, because when you're injured like that and you're basically laying in a bed and you're having needles stabbed into you with all kinds of chemicals and you're taking all these kinds of drugs.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my 30 days convalescent leave that I actually had when I originally got injured was that was probably the darkest part of my life, because you don't really have anybody there. Like, you think it's kind of like when you go back to high school a little bit, almost like a reunion. You think all these people are going to be there, and when no one really shows up except for your family, that's a hard pill to swallow.
Mm-hmm.
But for me personally, it came down to it was a lot of my peers, just them not seeing me as just like a new soldier, but somebody who really wanted to work hard and saw that I was consistent. Even to this day, I still wake up at sometimes 400, or I'll wake up at 3:30 in the morning. It does not matter to me. If it
Mm-hmm.
means that I'm gonna have a great workout in, I'm gonna wake up. I'm somebody who's up sometimes. Usually Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I can be up anywhere from 3:30 in the morning all the way till 8:30 at night,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll work. I'll either train myself or I'll train a couple clients before work, because I also have a full time job too. This is not the only thing I do.
Right.
So that full time job, and then I'll get done there, and then I'll train 1 or 2 clients after that as well, and then come home and still spend time with my family as much as I can. So
No, I love it. And you're like you mentioned it earlier, you're a very passionate guy about what you do. And that goes to all phases of your life. If you're doing it, it's because you're passionate about it. And I mean that in your full-time job, your training business, and your family. I would say that those are probably and your friends, of course, but
yeah.
those are probably I think that you think of your true friends as part of your family.
Oh,
So those are your three main pieces of your life. I feel like, at least, including your faith in there as well.
yeah.
Um, so I want to see if I can get, like, I guess, a final statement from you on, like, we're hearing all this about your story and kind of how it's led you. So how would you describe your why? Like, why you do what you do?
Why I do what I do, to be honest, is it's a little bit of vanity, and I think a lot of personal trainers can definitely understand that. I think
Mhm.
personal trainers themselves have probably the biggest body dysmorphia, and it's like
Absolutely.
it's that hunger. You can always look better. You can always push yourself a little bit harder. We all have those off seasons where we're starting to feel a little fluffy, and then we go right back to it. And for me, my biggest why probably comes down to, and this is similar to a lot of other people's stories, but um, I was 120 pounds soaking wet all the way through probably high school. Like, I don't think a lot of people probably would recognize me now if they saw me when I was 18 as opposed to now.
Mhm.
Like, I'm 190 pounds now, and I was 120, 125. And so for me, when you get called the little guy your entire life, it kind of gets to you a little bit.
Of course.
um, I definitely take my limitations and strides, and I think a lot of people can definitely realize that words hurt.
Mhm.
Nobody likes being called skinny, especially if you're a guy.
Yeah.
I mean, or dad bod.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a term of endearment at all. um, Fat, like, I mean, these are just words like in today's culture that when people say them, they cut deep, especially for
Mhm.
somebody who is in the industry and you're going through maybe not the best cut, maybe your life is getting in the way. And so for me, my biggest why is what drives me is just setting the example for my family, my son, but also not being the skinny guy anymore. I want to be the person that I'll still be able to get out there, play soccer with my kids, go to my son's powerlifting meets, do whatever I need to do to set the example as not only a man, but as a father as well.
Absolutely love that. And I mean, I have so much I can learn from you just on that end. especially with me going into my new stage of life. um, but I absolutely love that. I love that why, and I mean, I get it. I mean, I'm not a father yet, and the dad bod comments hurt. So I mean, I totally get it. And now I just want to flip the script of how we finished kind of the first segment of like you created three screws training,
Yeah.
and but we haven't gotten into really like where did that name come from for you? Why three screws?
Okay, so three screws came from the three screws actually placed in my body. And there's a few different things that actually came from that. Um, and I broke it down actually. My beautiful girlfriend, actually, Kristen, she kind of talked about some of the things that I've kind of been through in my life. And perseverance is a big one that you literally, it's like a fish swimming upstream. And I actually have that on my body itself. And it's becomes down to taking adversity in one stride at a time. But the three screws, the first screw actually symbolizes failure, which we're all going to experience. Every single person is going to
Absolutely.
experience some type of failure in their life. They're going to get kicked down. They're going to basically kind of have to strap up their boots and whatnot and just roll up the sleeves and just do the hard work. They're going to have to take it on the chin a little bit. But I think I mean, this is very, very cliche, but what doesn't kill us definitely makes us stronger. But I personally feel like whatever doesn't kill us makes us grow.
Mhm.
And for me, the first screw is failure, the second screw is perseverance, and the third one is results. And that's kind of the motto that my particular regiment lives through because you're going to fail. You're not going to get that PR the first week. You're not going to see those results within the first like 24 hours. Like everybody thinks that personal training is, oh, I'm going to see results immediately. No, this is meant to be a marathon. It's not going to be just a sprint to the finish line. Now, you want to go that route? Great. It's called the rubber band effect. Pull it all the way back, snaps right back in place. You're right back to where you started, square one. And I really try and instill that in a lot of my clients, which you know this, but they're not many. And that's because I'm very, very, very selective
Mhm.
because of you can't see it, but this is my family. Like I'm in my family household right now. Like I'm doing this and I can smell chicken being cooked. So
Ooh, protein gains.
yeah, gains.
No, but I love that. And I mean, you didn't, my follow-up question with this, I want to prelude with like, you didn't take the traditional going independent trainer route. Most people when they do that, they do it full time.
Right.
But you specifically chose not to do it full time.
Right.
Um, I want to know like one, your thought process behind that, but as well too, how did because a lot of trainers talk about going independent, they just never do.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to know kind of like what switched in your head that hey, not the commercial gym anymore or what have you.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I got a lot of people are gonna be mad at me about this, but honestly, it came down to waking up so early and people not caring, not wanting to be there,
Hmm.
and just the bare minimum pay, $35 a class, teaching over 15 to 20 people. Maybe five of them are super excited, actually want to be challenged, and those are the ones I would really focus on. Whereas the other ones, they're just kind of spinning their wheels. And so for me, I knew that if I was going to do this, I wanted to have something that was going to be sustainable, but also create a strong lifestyle for myself and my family. Like you'll hear this a lot. Everything's going to come back right in my family. What am I going
Hmm.
to do to support my family? How am I going to create a future? And so for me going independent, I wanted to be very, very selective in who I chose because I knew I was going to do it. I eventually wanted to get in the medical field at some point in my life. And I knew that if I was going to do it, I was going to have to structure it around a job. If I really, really, really was passionate about it and my body fully allowed me to continue to do it. And that's why I wake up and I train people at 5 a.m. in the morning.
I love it. And I mean, dude, I get it. I totally get it.
Yeah.
We took very similar paths as far as the training side goes. And I mean, I worked group fitness with you, and it was frustrating the people that would just show up and you could tell that one, I was proud of them that they were there, but the
Right.
second part of it was like they didn't want to work while they were there.
Yeah.
They were going through the motions and that's being generous. They were kind of just there.
Yeah.
So I get that because we have a passion for what we do or did at that time, and we want that to be reciprocated.
Yeah.
Um, but I think what we've been talking about leads beautifully into my next question of you you do 3 years training and you work a full-time job, but besides that exclusivity that you offer, like what is it that you feel that like you offer that your run of the mill LA fitness, whatever you want to think of, average coach doesn't offer?
Well, I mean, just like you said, it's exactly what it is. It's exclusivity, but more than anything, I am very, 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 very touchy with a lot of my clients, and so I have a lot of attention to detail when it comes to form.
Hmm.
Everything is written down, pre-programmed. Everybody's different. Everybody has different limitations, and for me, I usually start off with a full consultation. And a lot of the clients that I get, I've realized actually do have limitations, whether they have an autoimmune disease or they have a massive just surgical scar down their back because they had a fusion done.
Hmm.
And a lot of that kind of goes back to, believe it or not, my internship. I was able to understand the education going forward in terms of things that a lot of trainers don't, in terms of spine loading, making sure that it's going to be a slow progression, not just a overnight. Like a lot of my clients, I won't even put them under a barbell for a long time because I want them to truly understand which muscle groups they're actually hitting, how they're supposed to feel. Like every single client that I have, I usually ask them when they're doing the exercise, do you feel that? Okay,
Hmm.
where do you feel that? Because I want them to kind of get that mind and muscle connection, which you'll hear that a lot. I mean, obviously, but everybody knows that the more tension you put on a muscle, the faster it's going to grow in terms of like 1010, time under tension, tempo, regulations, stuff
Hmm.
like that. So, but for me personally, it comes down to, yeah, just attention to detail, my passion. I think all my clients can definitely tell you I'm extremely passionate about them, and the accountability, it's going to be bar none. Like I'm going to be checking in with you. Like even right now, I have clients who are texting me. They're like, "Oh, hey, yeah, I did my 45 minutes of cardio. Sucks to suck. Thanks." But I mean,
Thanks for nothing, JD.
yeah, it is what it is. I mean, I tell people I'm very, very upfront with them too
Hmm.
on what I expect out of them as a client,
Hmm.
because I honestly, I don't mean this to be manipulating, but I tell them it's like, I don't have to do this.
Hmm.
Like this is taking time out of my family, but I want to do this if you're very, very serious about this.
Hmm.
Because I tell my clients this all the time. I was like, I have goals for you, even if you don't have goals for yourself.
I love
And it's
that.
like, it helps people because then they're like, oh, you care. And I'm like, kinda, yeah.
A little bit.
Like I'm there. I mean, my job currently right now is amazing because they'll let me work just half days on Mondays and Fridays, and then I'm off by 4:30, so I can get to my client at 6 at the gym that I train him at, and then still be able to do a little bit of programming, do a little bit of fine tweaking, or just honestly relaxing and breathing before the session.
Yeah, I love it. I get it. After working with you for 4 years, I guess, of it, 3 or 4 years, I mean, I can attest you care more than anyone I've ever worked with. So, and when we were working at Lifetime together, I was oftentimes lack of a better phrase, first line of defense when you do like the onboarding sessions.
Right.
And I got to pair people with who I thought that they would work well with. And anytime, based on experience, anytime that I ran across someone that I knew they needed 100% undivided attention, I knew JD is going to give them 100% undivided attention.
Yeah.
And you were someone that I could give any person to because I knew you had the background in like corrective therapy or post rehab, as well as you can train someone who wants to be a bodybuilder. So you were very easy to just give someone to because I knew one, you would pay attention to them,
Hmm.
but two, I knew that you could do the job.
Hmm.
Um, and I mean, I really admire that about you and how diligent you are. And you mentioned how upfront you are, and that's one JD's going to be brutally honest with you if he has to be. But depending on the situation, depending on the conversation, but you've asked me the hard questions,
Hmm.
and you've told me things that, hey, I didn't know I need to hear it, but I needed to hear it.
Yeah.
um so man, I really do appreciate that about you, and anyone that gets the opportunity to meet you, I think will also feel the passion and learn the same that I've learned.
Yeah.
um but you were talking about kind of like we've been talking about you having another job. um
Yeah.
so you do work in the medical field.
Hmm.
um tell me, even though I know, so tell the people, what is it that you do?
I am actually an assistant chiropractor.
Hmm.
I specialize in non-surgical spinal decompression of the lumbar and cervical, and I do matrix therapy, which is basically a TENS unit on crack. And we specialize in class 3 and class 4 laser therapy at my facility that I work out with Dr. Smedstead here in Houston.
Nice. So with that, like, I mean, that's a lot. Like, give me more information, because most people just think of a chiropractor, they go in, get adjusted, or have their joints cracked, or whatever you want to call it. But
Right.
you guys offer a lot more than that.
Right.
How does each individual piece of equipment like help you, other than just that adjustment that you get from the chiropractor?
Yeah, sure. So basically, we have manual adjustments as well. Dr. Smedstead
Mhm.
is our actual doctor on staff. And so, with me being the assistant, it's my job to put them, if they are doing decompression therapy. Basically, what it does is whether it's the neck or it's the lumbar, thoracic, what have you, the idea is to actually pull the spine apart to create a vacuum that's actually being compressed down by those individual discs that's actually creating that sensation, that nerve pain. It's usually shooting down the lower back, all the way down the glutes, down the outside of the hamstrings, which is known as sciatic pain. And so we have that a lot. And then we also do it for the neck as well, which is the exact same process. But that usually causes a lot of tension in the shoulder, which actually usually goes all the way down to the hands as well. Everybody knows that nerves travel somewhere until they actually experience it themselves. And unfortunately, as we get older, I'm experiencing this even to myself today. Like I myself have suffered herniated disc. I've had 5 pinch nerves. I've had a lower lumbar strain. I mean, you name it. I've pretty much had it, which that's kind of what separates me as an individual in terms of an assistant, because I was able to be empathetic with the patients that we had. And then with my
Mhm.
background in anatomy and personal training and understanding the human body, it made it very simple for that transition. And that was honestly why they hired me, is because I told them, I was like, listen, I'm going to be super passionate about every single person that we work with. I'm going to make sure that I'm the energy in the office, which I mean, I've been doing this now for a little over a year now. And I can say it's my second passion next to personal training.
That's amazing, and that's so cool that you were able to find that. Because I knew how passionate you were about personal training, but find something else that you could do
Yeah.
and choose to do. That's the thing, because you could very easily load up yourself with clients and train all day, but you found something else that is another avenue of helping people,
Hmm.
and which I love, and that kind of leads to my next question again, which is like, dude, you work more than 12-hour days.
Yes.
Like, where does that passion come from for helping people? Because you're helping people. I mean, besides maybe an hour and a half where you train yourself,
Yeah.
you're helping people the whole time. Where does that passion come from?
I think it's honestly just I hate seeing people hurt. I hate
Mm,
seeing people in pain, whether
mm,
it's an emotional pain, it's a physical pain of just not liking what they see in the mirror, or unfortunately a significant other saying something to them that really just tore them apart inside, and they just kind of like decided to flip the switch and just say, you know what, I'm making a change today. Like that's why I actually really enjoy New Year's resolutioners, because I actually like to call them New Resolution life changers, because they're taking that next step. Like we should be encouraging those individuals in the gym, because we were all there.
Hmm.
I mean, 18 years of age, if I would have stepped into a gym, you would have been like, what is this twig doing here? I mean, it's the same thing. Everybody has a journey. Everybody has a starting point. And for me, I've seen so many miracles in my life, even just recently watching. I've seen a man completely crushed by a horse and almost on a walker, can barely move. And then we treat him through our therapy at my clinic and he's able to walk. I've seen people come in on walkers and canes, and after a couple sessions, they're able to get rid of what I call their insurance policies. And you can quote me on that because that's definitely what I call it. But it's
Yep.
just seeing people not have to be in so much pain on a consistent basis is that's just passion right there. It really is. It just comes down to I want to see people move. I want to see them be able to play with their grandkids or even just their kids. Like I've helped people who are 350 pounds. I've helped people who are cerebral palsy patients. Like there's so many names and faces that are running through my head right now that I've
Hmm.
helped with our therapies that we offer, and just even through personal training. Like I said, everybody has a journey, everybody has an experience, everybody has their why, and it's my
Yep.
job to figure out what that why is and to help them overcome it.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I agree, and I want to touch on something that you mentioned at the beginning of that was like the New Year's resolutioners and encouraging them. I see so much hate on and people think it's innocent joking, but so much hate is what I'm going to call it. Like on social media, when it's getting close to New Year's or the change of the year or whatever you want to call it, and people start posting about how can't wait for the gym to be empty again come February 1st. And
Yeah,
I think that's so negative and not the right mindset. Like it might inconvenience you and your hour workout turns into an hour and 5 minutes.
yeah,
But the people in there, everyone's there for the same reasons, and some are deeper than others. And getting hated on because they set a New Year's goal to better themselves, and
yeah,
that included coming to the gym. I think it's just wrong. I know that most people think it's just an innocent joke, but these people that are coming in for the first time don't see it that way.
yeah,
So I think that was beautiful what you brought up, and I think that more people need to be cognizant of that because at the end of the day, everyone in there is just trying to make themselves better. It might be through weight loss, fitness, whatever, and we should
yeah,
all just be trying to help people, not tear them down. You
yeah,
because you never know, like when you post something like that, like you may never talk to the person, but social media, you can just run across it. I don't know. Your phone's always listening. If you say Jim, it may come across their feed.
yeah.
So so I think that's just something that's people really need to be cognizant about. And I mean, I personally I hope it's February 1st. Well, it's February 1st. But I mean, I hope it stays busy. Like I want us to have a healthier community, and I would like to see people living longer. And what you were talking about, being able to overcome injuries and play with their grandkids and have a longevity quality of life.
Yeah.
So I think that's huge. Um, Whew, I don't know how I changed the subject from this, but I'm gonna have to. Um, a lot of I know I've experienced it. I know you've experienced it. At some point when you're in the fitness industry, everyone's gonna tell you that, or not everyone, but everyone hears it, that someone's gonna tell you that there's no career to be had in fitness. Um, or at least not a long-term career.
Okay.
What motivates you to stay in it?
Clients, clients and their
Clients.
stories. It really, I mean, I think any personal trainer can tell you that. It's sometimes, I mean, money comes and goes,
Mhm.
but those stories, you'll have those for the rest of your life. I mean, I've got a client right now, and I can't name him obviously, but
Of course.
I mean, he's lost 26 pounds. He's changed his life for the better. I
Mhm.
mean, he's growing as a person, just not just physically, but I think even emotionally a little bit. He's just taking his mindset to a different place, and he puts the work in. He doesn't think about it anymore. He literally turned a healthy lifestyle habit into just routine. Like it's just something that just automatically comes natural to him now.
Mhm.
And when that moment happens, when clients finally get it, I think I've used this term before, but I call it the light bulb effect. It's like somebody just turns it, like just flips a switch, and everything just starts. And everything just starts to make sense, and they start trusting you more. And there's nothing better than having a client that trusts you.
Mhm.
Like when they finally start seeing those really strong results, or like for me, a result can be anywhere from, oh, hey, I was able to get from the floor without using a piece of furniture. That's
Amazing.
huge. I mean, there's so many people out there, like, especially the elderly demographic, like not just young generations, but the older demographic of people who like they have the little help button, like help, I fall and I can't get up. I've experienced that before
Mhm.
with an actual relative that I had, and she didn't have the tricep strength, she didn't have the leg strength, she had just given up on life,
Mhm.
and her bones were so brittle. Because I remember she literally asked me, she's my grandmother, and I couldn't get her up. I went to go underneath her rib cage, and I literally thought I was going to crush her because her bones
Mhm.
were so brittle. But
Mhm.
that's why I always make sure that people understand the fundamentals of what an actual exercise is doing and how they should be doing it as well. But not only that, but just dailies of activity living. That was one of the biggest things that a lot of demographics, I think they're definitely kind of neglected a little bit in terms of the older demographics of like, I don't care. I'll train somebody who's 70 or 80 years old. Like majority of
Mhm.
my clients that I have are all 30 plus. I don't really have
Mhm.
the younger generation because younger generation, you can get them to build up, get them to eat a little bit more. But the older generation, those are the stubborn people. Those are the really stubborn ones. They're like, listen, I've had a really hard week. I'm gonna have that glass of wine. I'm gonna have that beer. I'm like, you do you. It's all good. But I mean, you have to realize that that was actually something you taught me a long time ago too. Was all about flexible nutrition.
Mhm.
Realizing that not everybody's gonna be able to do the same 3 meals a day or
Mhm.
5 or 6 meals or whatever it is, whatever their goal is. But you have to work around a lifestyle.
Yep.
And that was huge to me when I had my light bulb effect and that kind of clicked. I was like, oh yeah, that does make sense. So
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like, I'm sure we're talking, if I remember that conversation correctly, we were talking about like caloric balance and like you and I came from places where like it was meal plan, meal plan, meal plan. I had like 6 ounces of chicken, cup of rice, and broccoli or whatever. And
yeah.
all meals were shaped like that, but that doesn't work for everyone. And I had to come to that realization when I was a younger trainer in New York that not everybody can eat like that. I've realized it now. I can't eat like that anymore. If you try to hand me plain chicken and rice and broccoli, I'm gonna throw it at you. Like, no. Um, but yeah, and then learning more about the science of it, and that's one thing that I feel like most people, at least in the fitness industry, neglect the nutrition. They just it essentially becomes a do what I do,
Hmm.
which a lot of trainers train people that way. And I'm proud to say you're someone that doesn't do that.
Yeah.
You train people the way they need to be trained, not how it makes it easier on your life. Where like, well, I did back day today. Everyone's doing back day today.
Right.
But going back to the nutrition part and you learning the science and you sifting through what's BS and what's true. And you see it all the time right now on social media where like the registered dietitians are on social media. practicing a balanced lifestyle and eating candy or what have you because it's not inherently bad. But
Right.
then you'll have someone go make a video. There's one I can't remember the guy's name, but went into a hospital, and this dude has no he might have a certification, but no formal education on on nutrition or anything like that. He goes into a hospital and starts tearing apart what their cafeteria offers, and it really just irks you the wrong way, and especially when because this person didn't do any deep diving. He just went into a hospital that specifically was a pediatric hospital that's treating cancer, so child cancer hospital, and maybe his intent was good, is like we need to do better for our kids. But if you just sit back and think about it for a second, you need nutritionally dense foods because people that are specifically kids that are suffering from cancer are getting so frail, so small, and they
Right.
don't want to eat.
Yeah.
And so you have to provide them with things that can, because they have to keep strength up and weight up, and they're going through chemotherapy, and that just tears you down.
Yeah.
So the long story short is don't listen to everything you see on social media. Do your own research. And I'm not talking about like you don't have to go into a lab and go get your nutrition degree, but you can find people that have done that and
Yeah.
listen to them. And you can read through the literature. I think we're all literate, and can sift through at least, I mean, check out the studies. And I think that that's something that at minimum we can all do before we start casting dispersions on people and hating on them. But long-winded conversation to say, um, it really is all about balance. And at the end, just like training, it's about sustainability. Is this something that they can do for a long period of time?
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I'm super proud of you for not just figuring that out, but practicing it and
Yeah.
being able to adjust it towards each client that you have, and anytime you're giving nutritional advice.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. Ooh, you're getting me on my soapbox and getting
It's like
going.
keep it going.
Um,
Keep it going.
yeah, yeah, get more, get it up. Um, so something that I didn't prep you on, and we're getting towards the end of our podcast, but I want people to know a little bit more about you.
Oh God.
Um, but what a lot of people, unless they're like truly friends, don't know about you is that you're kind of a movie buff.
Oh God. Here we go. Okay.
Tell me one, where did that start? And two, tell the people how you're practicing your movie buffness.
Um, Luckily, I've got a great cinephile who's by my side at all times. I'm sorry if that sounds weird, but that's what I call him. It's my ride or die. It's my Kristen. She'll
Mhm.
go see a movie. She doesn't care. If she's into it, even just a little bit, we're in. We see scary, we see action, we see comedy. Uh, we're probably going to go see Knock at the Cabin this weekend. I'm not excited, but I know she is because she's a huge M. Night Shyamalan fan. She's all about the horror. Um, that's just our relationship. We enjoy it. But as far as my education, where it stemmed from, God, I like being immersed in the experience. I really do. I like the escape. Like
Got
I'm that person. I get in the movie theater. I get annoyed when I see a light go off. So I'm like, okay, are you watching? Because I'm watching.
it.
So I don't know. It came down to it was a big escape for me when I was a kid. It was something I wanted to do. And for a while, there
Mm,
was something my dad and I did together before I got my license because I can actually
mm,
drive and go to myself. Because even when I was single and when I first got my driver's license, I think the first thing I did, I went and saw a movie.
amazing.
And I mean, I was an entertainment editor in high school. Go ahead, call me a nerd. I don't care. Come on, throw
Nerd,
out the comments. I don't even care. Like I'm a nerd
nerd.
who basically got into fitness, and I'm still a nerd. So I mean, you name it. And I'm all about the story too. Like I'm that guy who you give me a good tearjerker, as long as it's got a good story, yeah, I'm probably gonna cry. So I have no qualm about it. But not only that, I enjoy just a good experience, whether it's like the new season of Dexter or whether it's Game of Thrones or I mean Ted Lasso. I mean, these are just some shows that I've personally watched multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as movies in general, I can tell you actors' names. I can tell you directors. I can tell you what's coming out. Like, I literally listen to Grace Randolph every single Monday, right after your podcast, usually, because I want to know like what the movie math is. How is Avatar 2 doing? What is going to be coming out on Netflix this week? Like, I
Mm-hmm.
already saw You People. I don't really recommend that one. It was a little bracey, but it is
Yeah,
what
I'm
it is.
good.
Like, these are things that I've wanted to get into for a while, and even start my own podcast and doing movie reviews and introducing fitness culture and how it's changed so much, like especially with social media. But
Mm-hmm.
there's so much content out everywhere now,
Yep.
which is great for me because I love movie reviews and I love hearing what other people's thoughts are, especially after I see it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've gotten to a point now to where Kristen really, she loves it when I turn off a trailer. Like, she loves going into a movie blind, and I love that about her. Because I used to be that person. I would watch every little tiny scene that, like, it was like, ooh, a sneak peek preview. Oh, here's an early synopsis. Here's three more trailers instead of the initial teaser that came out. And
Mm-hmm.
it just comes down to that escape. It really is. And it's something that her and I are really passionate about and we enjoy. And it's like the perfect date night every single time because we're able to discuss it, whether it was like, wow, that was really crappy. I'm really sorry I took you to go see that. Or it comes down to, wow, that one got me there.
Tugged my heartstring.
Yeah, that one's tugging at the heartstrings a little bit. So, but yeah, it was just for me. It's just as it's an escape. I love being entertained.
I love it. I love it. I didn't know some of that about you. I knew a lot of it about you.
Yeah,
But before I get off this topic, we are in the new year. So I need, doesn't matter the genre doesn't matter. I need your top JD's top three movies of 2022. Yeah, and I am making you narrow it down to three. Use
Top Gun,
whatever criteria you want.
Top Gun Maverick, easily.
Okay.
Great cinematography, great sound editing. I don't care how you feel about Tom Cruise. That dude, he knows what he's doing. And I
Hmm.
think the reason that movie did so well is because he reached such a broad demographic of the diehard Top Gun fans, or the homophobe or homoerotic or whatever you want to call it, fighter pilot films. It
Hmm.
brought it back to just a classic film. It didn't have anything to do with race. It didn't have anything to do with gender bias, anything. It was just a fun film. Strap yourself in. You're gonna have a good story. You're gonna have a good time. That was that was the one that I actually bought tickets for my dad to go see, and he doesn't go see movies anymore because unfortunately he's early retired. He's got all kinds of issues. I bought it
Hmm.
for Kristen's father to go see,
Hmm.
and I think I saw it 3 times in theaters.
Wow.
It was a fun ride.
Hmm.
Um, Number two is probably Woman King.
Okay.
Woman King, it's like the Gladiator of this generation. It
Okay.
really is. It's a fun story. Great acting. Really, really superb acting. Um, there was a lot of newcomers that I didn't expect. And honestly, I went into a very, very dark because I didn't really know what to expect.
Hmm.
I just knew that it was a story about a group of warriors who were women and they just look badass. That's what I
Awesome.
went into it knowing. And so I was like, cool, let's have some fun. But that one was it was emotional. It took you on a great story, and the action was fantastic, and the music actually, like, I wanted to listen to the soundtrack after I saw it because I
Cool.
was I was like I was like, oh, okay. Sometimes a good soundtrack can really get you on a film because it makes you keep thinking about it, much like the
100%.
Greatest Showman. No big deal.
Oh man, no big deal, but absolutely.
So that's another topic. Um, let's see. Um,
Number three, and I'll give you a extra like honorable mention if you need it.
that's a hard one. Because I've actually just taken upon myself to actually watch almost every single awards film that came out this year as well that are going to be in the
Mhm.
Oscars. Um, Trying to think. Those are really the two that like stood out the most this year. Oh,
Okay.
um, honorable mention would definitely be No Way Home. I think
No
that
Way
was a
Home.
that was a fantastic overall family film, bringing back the generations of characters from the previous films. Famous
Mhm.
Toby, I mean, he's my Spider-Man in my heart. Um,
I was about to say No Way Home is Spider-Man in case people were curious.
yeah, yeah, they know.
Oh,
If
they
they're
know.
nerds, they know. uh, I'd have to say, gosh, probably Fablemans.
Fablemans.
Fablemans because the acting was really good, but it was a story that was about the love of film. It was about the love of cinema, and I was actually really captivated by. He was just like me when he was a kid. He literally saw a movie in the theaters with his family, and he was captured by just how a film was made. And then he took it upon himself to literally try and recreate what he saw. And that was like a seed, like a little tic tac size seed that just exploded in his brain. And then it gave him this drive. And his family was very encouraging, actually. Like he wasn't a poor kid. I don't care what anybody says. He was not poor. Steven Spielberg had a very, very good childhood. His dad worked for IBM. Like he
Oh,
had
jeez.
a good camera set up. He had an editing little room and everything. Um, but yeah, I'd say that's number 3. Top Gun, yeah, Top Gun, Woman King, and Fablemans, and then honorable mention No Way Home, just because it just that one just blew me away. That was just fun. Plus, I took my son to go see it, and I got to go to the premiere with him. And at that point, people were like saying that you could sell your tickets for a couple $100s, and I was like, nope. I got I got 4 of them, and I actually ended up having one extra seat to myself, and
Oh,
I let him bring
nice.
one of his friends. I don't know if that's an alpha move or not, but
I don't know. Alpha move would have been to keep the seat empty.
I
But yeah,
did.
yeah.
I
You want
did.
to
I
sit
kept
there? I
one
do
seat empty
mind.
next to me.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
Put
an
my
alpha
feet up and
move.
everything.
I love it. I love it. Thank you for doing that. And JD, we're going to close this podcast. It's going to be a two-part question or two different questions, I guess. Um, we talked about how you're a chiropractic assistant. If people in Houston want to make an appointment, how do they do that?
Yeah. So if you guys are have any interest, you have sciatica pain, if you suffer from a bulging disc, a lower lumbar strain, a pinched nerve, or you're just experiencing a little bit of pain in your back or your neck or your shoulder even or your hip, and you're not sure what to do about it, seriously. We have a few different things you can do. You can go to Woodway Wellness at Gmail, or I'm sorry, woodwaywellness.com. And if you want, you can even email us at woodwaywellness at gmail.com, or you can literally call the office at 713-622-2225. I know
A lot of
it's a lot
twos.
of twos. It's a lot of twos, but we're doing a program right now where we're trying to get people in. We're trying to get them healthy as fast as possible. We do accept insurance. Um, yeah, that's definitely a plug. But you know what? If it means that somebody doesn't have to walk with a cane or
Mhm.
can actually just not be in pain for even just a little bit, or even for a progression of a longer period like, I'm all for it. Please come and see us. Well, I would love to help you. Plus, you'll be able to finally get to experience my energy.
Absolutely. And anyone watching on YouTube, all of those ways to contact them are going to be above and around JD. Anyone that's just listening, it's going to be in the description below. And JD, I also want to give you the opportunity if people want to continue this conversation with you, as well as if maybe they want to work with you on training,
Mhm.
how do they get in contact with you?
So if you want to get in contact with me, I have a personal training page on Instagram. It's the only platform I have, guys. Just because it makes that it's kind of like if you know, you know, because not a whole lot of people know. Because mine is more of a either word of mouth or I personally select that individual.
Mhm.
But if you want to do that, it's on Instagram. It's at 3 Screws Training. That's it. It's the only one out there, and it's an actual 3 with the number 3, not THREE. So
Perfect. And then I assume they just shoot you a DM if they want to do do that, or if they want to try to work with you?
Yeah, yeah. You can just shoot me just a personal message through direct message, and we'll set up a consultation if you're in the area, and hopefully it'll change your life.
It definitely will. Well, JD, I want to thank you for coming on to the Helpful Huddle podcast. It's been great getting to know you even deeper, learning more about your story and talking shop with you a little bit.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. JD, thank you. Throw up a deuces. Say bye to the people.
See you guys. Thanks so much.
Thank you for listening to episode 4 of the Helpful Huddle podcast, where we interview JD Sturniolo about his journey, his business, and how he helps others live better lives. Remember to give us a like and a follow on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter with the user handle at helpful_huddle and the YouTube channel at Helpful Huddle Podcast. You are also able to listen to us on both Spotify and Apple Podcast. The links are also found in the description below. Please reach out with your questions on topics that you would like to learn about in the future.